All right, your next project is going to be a project that's going to require you to use digital calipers, and it's going to require you to reverse engineer something from scratch that's physically in front of you. So I chose the 2009 iMac RAM tray cover that goes underneath the display as a good project for you to work on. Now this is going to be tough, but I want to make sure that you're okay and understand the basics of a digital caliper and how to use it to measure all the different measurements that you need to redraw this product. I also want to go through the steps with you in my brain so that you can see how to think about how you're going to redraw a product. Now there is no one way to do something, so there's multiple ways. This is not the one way that you should always do it. So the first step is, let me teach you about your digital calipers. Your digital calipers have 3 ways to measure. They can measure the thickness of a product here by inside the jaws, so that means it measures from this tip to this tip and it tells you the measurement, or the diameter of a circle or the width inside of an object because it measures from this point to this point, and also the height is measured here. So if I take the calipers and push down, it measures the height from here to here on the product and it gives you the measurement here. So it would be the same. That was 5.5. So if I did the same thing, I basically get almost the same measurement of 5.5. All right, so let's get started. The other thing that you need to know, is that the buttons. There are 3 buttons you need to understand. 0 will actually zero out the caliper and establish that it's 0. Sometimes people make a mistake and push the 0 button and come back and the number is negative here. So if the number is negative and the jaws are closed, you must close the jaws and push 0 to make it 0. And then up at the top, if you're not millimeters, you'll come up to the blue button and push it. Now this toggles between inches and millimeters. We want to stay in millimeters. All right. Now if you're negative 0.01 millimeters, that's nothing. Please do not worry about it. And again, off and on, that's how you turn the calipers off and on. All right, there are 2 ways that I think I could draw this. Or actually 3 ways. I could draw it like so with a thin rectangle and come up here and do the same thing. Or I could draw it flat as a rectangle and then extrude up, which might not be a bad idea. Or I could draw like this and just draw the shape right here and have it extrude all the way down. So there's 3 ways you can start with drawing it. I'm going to choose the rectangle method first because I think it's most visually easy to see what I'm doing. So the first step I'm going to do is I need to measure the length, the width, and the height to draw the rectangle. And then I'll come back and get these rails at the end. So let's go ahead and measure that. So the width is pretty easy. So go ahead, let me write this down. We got to draw the width and we got to draw the length. And we got to get the height. So here we go. Let's get those measurements. So the width is pretty simple. Open the jaws, come over to the part, and squeeze. So 12.75 sounds like a good number to me. So I come over to the width, and I write down 12.75 millimeters. All right, now I need to establish the length. All right, so here we go. The length might be tricky because the jaws are not the same. I mean, it's not going to reach all the way. So if I put this down, and let me get this all the way out, it looks like there's 157 and it stops right there where my finger is. So what I'm going to do now is measure where my finger is. Here we go. And it looks like 6 millimeters. All right, so 5 millimeters. So 157 plus 5 would be 162. So if I come over to length, I'll put 162 millimeters. Now I want to double check this. So what I'm going to do is take a tape measure just to verify the measurement. And then I'm going to come all the way out to here. And it looks like it's 6 6/16 of an inch. So if I convert that online, so it's 6 6/16 of an inch, I actually find out that I'm correct. It is 162 millimeters long. So sometimes you might have to use a good old-fashioned tape measurer if your digital calipers are not long enough. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and measure the height, which is simple. I'm going to come right here, squeeze, it's 1 millimeter. So I'm going to write 1 millimeter. All right, so I have the basic measurements that I need for the base. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and write that down, and I'm going to put that sticky note here. Because I'm doing 2 different videos, one with getting my measurements and then 2 going back and drawing, I'm going to get those taken care of now. So the next step is the rails. So I want to figure out how big the rails are so I can draw them. So we're going to come up here and type the rail measurement. All right, so what I need to know is, again, the width, the length, the height, and also its position. I have to know where it's located. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is come over and let's get the width. So you can determine the width would be like this right here. This is the width, and this is the length, and this would be the thickness. Thickness is easy. It's 0.60. So we'll change height to being thickness, and it's 0.60 millimeters. Length. Let's see if the caliper can take it all the way across. It should, I'm hoping. So if I come all the way out and then I think it's going to do it, sweet. So the width or the length is 154.35. So 154.35, and the width, this is going to be tricky. This is where I'm going to use the height tool. All right, and the width is 4.2. So I got it. So I know that the rail, if I were to draw it out like so, is like this. I know this is 154.35. I know that right here, the thickness right here, if I draw this down, is 0.60 millimeters. And then I know the height from here to here is 4.2. All right, so I got the rail measurements, but I got to figure out the position. So first off, the best way to figure out the position is to come here like so, and I know that it's 0.8 millimeters in. So if I draw a rectangle like this, I know the distance from here to here is 0.8. So I've got that. Let's figure out what the distance is right here, and we can probably be good to go. So the same thing, because we'll just mirror it when we get into it. I'm going to try to do the same thing here, and it is 3.4 millimeters. So now I know 3.4 millimeters. So I have an origin right here. I know that it starts at over 3.4, and I'm sorry, over 0.80, and then over 3.4, and then I can just draw the length and everything, and it'll be fine. I found my origin. So we need to know this. We're going to go over on the x, 0.8, when we draw this, and the y equals 0.34. All right, last thing I need to do is the circles and figure out what I'm doing. I'm not going to do them all for you, but I want to get you started. So the circles, let's figure out what they are. So I'm going to use this tool. And what I'm going to do is basically get the teeth of them in the circle until they catch. And it's about 2. I can see real carefully here. All right, so 2 millimeters is what the circles are. To verify that, I'm going to kind of eyeball it. and I know the diameter of the circle is basically 2 millimeters. So we're going to say the circles are 2 millimeters. And to get the first circle done, what we have to do is find the X and the Y. So what I'm going to do is kind of put the jaws in the middle like so and center it in the circle. So it's over 3 millimeters. So the first circle is over 3 millimeters on the X. Let's find the Y. So the Y would be doing the same thing up here. I'm going to establish my origin up here in this corner. And it looks like 2.5. So now I know 2.5. And then I do the same thing on the next circle, which is, now what you could do is just draw a line from the center of the circle to the circle, and it's 3 millimeters. So I know if I draw a line right here over 3 millimeters, I can draw the next circle. And then same thing, I'll do the same process. It's 3 millimeters. Same process. I'll draw a line over 3 millimeters, and I can draw the next circle. Now you will follow this pattern right here, and these will be 2 millimeter circles. All right, you would follow this pattern. I have established the origin as this corner right here when I draw it, or this corner right here when I draw it. Now this is rounded, so we'll figure out how to do that. I'll go ahead and get that measurement right now. The best way to figure that measurement out is to kind of come over and measure right here. And I know that the radius of this circle is 2.25. So all I have to do is draw a circle that has a radius of 2.25. And let's go the corner. And it's going to be 2.25 radius. All right, well, now I'm going to go to work in the video. I have all these measurements, and I'm going to walk you through them in my video when I do this.